one story that people don't know, like about what hurts the most, is that I was a song I wrote about my dad after he passed away. He goes, kid, never do it for the money. And then he gets into a limo. I didn't have a title for it, but I made it up at the very end. I sang. That's what I'm doing these days. That'll be the title. I sang in it. I said, this song sucks.
I'm going to read a quote. I'm going to read a quote. We're rolling right now, and I'm going to read a quote from our guest tonight. This is his answer. No, I did actually see the video first sent to me by my friend at Breitbart News. All I can say, Neil, is MFing Waylon Jennings, MFer. MFing Johnny Cash, MFer. They would have cut this song in 2 seconds. Merle Haggard would have cut the song. The funny thing is, it's not racist at all. It just messes up their narrative. That was a quote, a text I got from one of about 5 people that responded to Try That in a Small Town when it came out. Our guest tonight, the one and only, Jeffrey Steele.
Yeah.
The man.
Here he is.
I remember that.
Yeah. I love that.
And I was so lit up. I was so lit up when I first heard it. And first thing I did, what did I say to you? I said, I got to get Kelly's number. Give me Kelly's number.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't have it. And I got to start shooting texts off here. And everybody I knew, I said, have you heard this song? Have you heard this song? And it's, well, you know me, like this is something that's, as I look around, I'm a product of early 70s California, Ronald Reagan governor, and
you're supposed to be a lib.
I'm supposed to be a lib. I grew up right in the middle of it, and my dad was a machinist. He was a metal cutter. That's where my name comes from. Steele. It's not my real name. It's a fake name, but it's in honor of my dad. And I just remember when my dad. It was a small sweatshop. There were 3 or 4 guys working in it. One was me, one was my brother, and a couple other guys. And when Carter was the president, we nearly went out of business. And so that was my first foray into politics and what governments and, agendas do to the common man. So all that flash forward 500 years to now, and hearing that song, it just is like.
Yeah, but you led the way. You led the way with the Aaron Lewis. You rocked the boat first.
Yeah.
We tipped it the other way, but you rocked it first.
Well, yeah, and like Neil was saying, like for me, I think I got maybe 2 texts, from close friends. And Jeffrey, we've known each other forever, but haven't written. Yeah, hadn't been in the same circles and everything. About to get a text. From Jeffrey Steele, legend, and having hits when I came to town. We're very close to same age and everything. And he says, hey, Kelly, it's Jeffrey Steele. Got your number from Neil. I just had to text you and say what a great mother. He threw
that word around a lot that day.
Yeah, he goes, love it. He goes, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings. It's all I got to say. And then he goes to the next one. I give him a lot of love back, and he says, man, appreciate that. Haggard would cut it, and I would put it up there with Ogie from Muskogee, Fight Inside of Me, and the good times are really over for good. And I was like, from Jeffrey Steele. Yeah. So at that point, I didn't care.
Fight inside of me.
I didn't care where the text I got from you. So thank you in person for sending that to give me a jolt.
I'm just telling you the truth. I mean, it shook me when I heard it. It just shook me, and
your song did the same to me.
Well, thanks. And that's, I've been kind of going down that road. Well, ever since the beginning of my career, really. My first song was during the Gulf War in '91. I had a song with a group called Boy Howdy called When Johnny Comes Marching Home Again. That was actually our first single I wrote during that conflict. I kind of rewrote the traditional old, song. And started to get airplay, and that's how I got a record deal. And that's kind of what brought me to Nashville back in the late 80s, early 90s with that band. Of course, they released the song, and the war ended like 3 days later.
Dang it, the war ended. Babe, we're not going to be able to pay for rent next month because the war ended.
Peace
timing was terrible, but
once again.
But that's kind of how I got started. And that's you're just like me. We've been writing the same themes for our whole career. My dad was a paratrooper, World War II, and he left a huge impression on me. And it's a thread in all of my songs. And so when people in the industry were saying, Jeff, what's up? Like, what are you so angry about? You know, you're cussing in that Am I the Only One song. I said, well, that's mostly Aaron, but I said, it's the same song I've been writing for 40 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little edgier, and the times make it a little edgier, but it's the same song.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so I don't know.
You talking about moving the needle? That needle was down here rusting. Nobody was cutting that stuff, and that needle was just sitting down here waiting, and y'all did it. It was like,
yeah, well,
and then Aldine had the balls to put it out, and it was just like, here we go,
which was so cool. And we got to the bridge of in the song "Am I the Only One?" and the line is, "Am I the only one who quit singing along every time they play a Springsteen song?" And Aaron goes, "Man, I can't sing this."
Yes, it was perfect.
I said, if you back out now, man, because the whole time we were writing it, he's like, man, my fans are gonna freak out. This is exactly what they want to hear. Oh my God, And so we got to that line. He's like, I don't know if I can sing that. I said, too late, man. You already committed.
Did you have to talk him into singing that line?
And even the song. At first he was. And understandably, everybody's got buses rolling down the road, and they've got employees, and they've got trucks, and you get it because the narrative is so strong. But I just kept saying, and I wrote, Ira Dean was in on that with us too, and I kept telling Ira, because Ira was out there opening his shows. I said, man, just keep letting him know he's going to be the first one. He's going to be the first one. He's going to be the first one that ever did it. And I just keep telling him that. Oh, yeah. And so finally he goes, I'm putting it out. And of course, he was, he's on, with Borchetta over it. Right. So, we didn't know if they were going to let him put it out or not, but cooler heads prevailed. So
I would love to know how that went down with the label.
Well, it's tough. We talked about it. We talked about this a lot. Writing it is fun, and it's one thing to write it, and it's another thing in this climate, and with the labels that generally are so left, they all are, to have the stones to put it out, and that's like Aaron and Aldine, like those guys. That's where you separate it, and now a bunch of artists wish they'd, a lot of them are thinking it.
And everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon after.
But you're right, though. We talked about this last week, like when you're dealing with employees and you're rolling a tour down the road, and it is a tough thing that you're going to take some hits.
Yeah.
But kudos to those guys.
Yeah, I agree, and it is a game changer if you put it out there, and it
takes the right one to do it.
And then you start thinking about why are we at that place anyway?
I know.
In country music. I mean, in country music.
Yeah.
We've had that discussion a lot. It's like the demographic. You would think that you're just speaking to your people, right?
Yeah.
But everybody seems to be afraid. And we've talked about this a lot. It's like, how do these artists not get that? These are the people that you should be saying this to and be excited to spread that message to.
Exactly.
And
I agree.
Hey, so back up a little bit, because this is fascinating to me. You're from like LA, Burbank, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from what I know, you started cutting your teeth on the Strip, Sunset Strip there.
Yeah.
And at that time, I mean, that's where everybody wanted to be. I mean, you had bands, I'm sure, like Van Halen coming through at that time. That's where all these big rock bands were making their mark. You were a part of that scene. You were down there, and yet you kind of veered and chose the more country, with
it's a hilarious story. I tell it all the time, but that era, and my brother. I have two older brothers. One's passed away now, but my oldest brother grew up right in the middle of the '60s, and he was a guitar player. So it was all just falling on me. And here I was in the middle of the best place you could really be in the music scene in that era.
100%.
Yeah, and my dad would take me to this talent show at a club called the Palomino, which was the only country gig in town. If you were a national act.
In Hollywood, right?
Yeah, it was North Hollywood.
Yeah.
But that was your stop. And it was a seedy club, and they had a talent show there. And my dad would take me down because his machine shop was right around the corner. I'd go down on Thursday night, And I'd win the talent show and get $100. After the third time I won, they started giving me a hamburger. So my dad wouldn't take me there anymore. Because we're gonna find another bar to take you to.
That's awesome.
But as I got older, I'm playing on the Strip, and I got a kimono on and a top hat and platform shoes, spandex pants.
Please tell me there's pictures.
There's pictures. It's
We got to
horrifying.
get those.
I know we're getting those.
It's horrifying, but I don't know if the '90s pictures are worse with the mullet and all that. But so I'm playing in these cover bands, and we were opening like the same places Van Halen was playing, and like Gazzari's on the Strip and the Ice House in Pasadena, like late '70s, and just before their record came out. I'll just never forget seeing them and seeing Eddie would take a solo and he'd stomp his boxes and then
He turned around.
he'd turn around so nobody could see what he was doing.
Right. So you saw him during that.
He didn't want anybody to see what was going on.
Oh,
And, 'cause,
wow.
he was doing that thing, the finger tap thing. And I mean, that was unheard of back then.
Yeah.
And so I was in that. I got so many crazy stories, but like I saw the Police when they first came to Hollywood. They're in a brown van.
That's amazing.
You're talking Tully's language now.
Yeah, well, the
Sting,
next day I had a three-piece reggae band. I was in a three-piece reggae band.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's amazing.
I was so taken in. We followed. There's a place called Barney's Beanery. It's like a high class, I guess, or a uptown version of Denny's off of the Sunset Strip, where all the musicians would go after gigs, like late at night. So we were like all 17, 18 years old, and so we followed them over. We followed him over to Barney's Beanery,
But that's so interesting to me because, like I said, you're entrenched in that scene, and it's so, like you said, it made you want to start a reggae band. So
it was so overwhelming, the music. It was everywhere. You see the Eagles, you see Ronstadt. If you were at the Palomino, like I played the house band there for about 7 years with Buddy Miller and Billy Block and Kerry Park, who was in my band, Boy Howdy, and all kinds of amazing musicians would come in there on a given night, whether it was Eddie Van Halen or Rodney Crowell or Mick Fleetwood. They would just come and sit in, or what's his name? Remember the rockabilly band?
Stray Cats.
Setzer.
Brian Setzer.
Yeah. Would come in and play because it was a real kind of rockabilly night sort of thing. But so all of that was evolving around me, and my dad was just beating me over the head to listen to country and listen to Merle Haggard. And I was just into all this rock and roll, and then this moment came like in the 80s where, it was, I was hanging around guys like Brett Michaels and Duff McKagan.
Oh my God.
All those guys, all those bands, Cinderella.
They were kids.
And they were kids. And I stumbled on with some musician friends to this alternative kind of music scene out there with Dwight Yoakam and Los Lobos.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Was
Did that Bakersfield thing that with Dwight and Buck? Did you run it?
Yeah, it sealed the deal.
Was Pete Anderson?
I met Pete. Pete was in a blues band, and then he joined Dwight, and
that was some of my.
It was an amazing era out there.
Is that what sparked your interest to think about moving to Nashville?
No, I mean I was just out there, and it was a really valid country music scene because you had Dwight out there, some roots bands like Los Lobos and other bands that were, and Lucinda was out.
Was Lucinda there at the time?
Yeah,
Okay.
and Buddy Miller was out there. We were in bands together,
Okay.
and it was just an amazing scene. So the crazy thing was, I did a barn dance, which is this house band thing I played in at the Palomino in the house band, and Tony Brown came in one night with Patty Loveless, and we were like the opening act for her showcase. So he heard a song of mine. He heard this song of mine, and he took the Palomino, had this really weird backstage that was nowhere near the stage. You had to go like across the room. Everybody hated playing there because Marty Robbins even cut a door in the back of the club so he could get out onto his space. It's called the Marty Robbins door. But anyway, so I was in the back, and we'd just finished the set, and Patty was getting to go up, and little Tony came back, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name?" I said, "Jeffrey Steele." He goes, "What's that third song you played?" And I told him the title was "Where Fools Are Kings," and he goes, "I'm gonna cut that song." And I didn't even know what that word meant. I didn't know what cut meant. What are you talking about? You're going to cut it out of my set? What are you doing, man?
That's amazing.
I'll cut you right back. And then he ended up, he said he was going to cut it on Patty, and that was my first lie in the music business that I was told. He ended up cutting it on Steve Wariner, which is still a great cut.
Yeah.
But that's what brought me back the first time in '87 to Nashville. To showcase, or '88.
So that was
That's
the
really
Boy
cool.
Howdy evolution.
Yeah, it was pre-Boy Howdy, but but I was in Boy Howdy. Like I played in all these cover bands, trying to make $50.
Yeah,
you guys know you're playing in bands, and I was playing in like 8 different bands. Boy Howdy was one of them.
Okay, right.
And that was just a project that I'd done and written the song, and then Tony heard it, and so that I went back and did a showcase in '88, and they chased me out. Tail between my legs.
Yeah.
Well, they tried that for us too.
What's that flat semichord doing in here? It was cool. I thought it was cool.
What a great scene though, because I always loved that that Dwight Yoakam stuff. That
it was an
Pete
amazing
Anderson
time.
did. Those records had such a sound to them.
Yeah.
Where's that going?
It's
Where's that going? Where are those
Well,
artists?
bring it back.
Yeah, I know.
He's still
Where are
out
those-
doing it.
Where's
Yes,
John?
he is.
Where's Dwight Yoakam and John Anderson? You know,
Dwight's
2.0.
out there. He's doing it.
Well, they're still out
Well,
there.
no,
out
I'm not talking about them literally. I'm talking about
Yeah.
the next generation of those guys, the unique people. You know,
Well, you just got to hope they're coming, and I think it's just. I always tell people too that it's so generational. Like the times that when we came up and we came into town, and the stuff that we grew up on, and how that kind of really influenced the sound of the music, and then the generations go by. Even 5 to 10 years, and the next group of songwriters come up that have been influenced by 10 years later music, and you know what I mean. It just keeps kind of evolving, and you see it now. It's very rap and metal, kind of pop metal influence now.
and some of it's really, really good.
And it's great.
And
There's some
some
great
of it's
songs.
really, really bad, but a lot of it's really, really good. I'm a fan. I've learned how to evolve over the years. A tick.
But getting to like when you think of like Jason or Aaron, there's only a handful of guys, but when you bring that up to me, it's like I think about the Cashes and Haggards and Waylon and even Chris and even those guys that were more on the liberal side of politics. They had a thought in their head.
Well, and that's the thing.
They had a clear thought about what they believed in. Like now, there's no clear thought. Yeah. And I mean, there's really not.
Well, there is.
I wish somebody would sit me down and convert me.
Yeah, it's fair.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Explain it. Explain this vision of the new world to me. Explain it to me, and I'll jump on if it really look. But I have not yet met anybody who can get past Trump bad.
Right.
I know. Me either.
Whether you're for him or not, I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
Trump bad. Yeah. Well, you got to have a little more than that.
I know.
You gotta
That's the
come-
problem, though. That's the problem. It's like we talk about it a lot. Where
Are we getting political? I love
Well,
it.
I mean-
this is badass.
Well,
Let's,
well,
if you want to go, I will.
We can go back and forth.
We go back. It's a simple thing, though. Like I think for most people, though, it comes down to what's my family going to be? Is my family going to be safer? Are we going to do better financially?
Yeah.
And I think people like you may not like Trump. A lot of people hate him, whatever. But is your family better off?
Well,
Are you
simple
safer? Like, vote for the policy. You're not going to be friends with the president anyway. Like, what's going to benefit you the most? You're in safety and the economy, and can you go afford dinner to take your family out? So I think that hopefully people vote that way. Like, well, I think I was better off before.
Yeah, and if you look at economies, I mean, if people have money in their pocket that they can save or spend as they so desire, the economy flourishes.
it's pretty simple.
It's just that simple.
It really is.
It's just that simple. And if you think about it too, like we're being taxed on working, we're being taxed on buying things, selling things, owning things, dying.
Yeah.
Being born. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy when you look at that whole picture.
Yeah, and two, you spend more when you feel safe. So if you have more money in your pocket and you feel safe, then you just spend more. The economy just goes in circle, and it's just it just feels less safe nowadays. It just does, just because of what's happening.
Absolutely.
But not get on that whole thing, currently. I mean, we've only got what, 3 hours? 3 hours,
Preach on, Kayla.
We can run.
But also, sorry.
No, go ahead, bud.
You guys are in trouble.
For the listeners,
We're not live. You can do whatever you
for the
want.
listeners out there, when you talked about a cut, and sometimes we'll get an email or something that says, "Hey, y'all mentioned this." It's a music business term. So what Jeffrey was referring to, getting a cut, or his song was going to get cut, that's back when it was vinyl and the records, and there was a cut. An actual groove.
Yeah, you got your song
in the
cut
in the
on
vinyl, and that's
on a
and
record.
It's just called a cut, and it even now we don't even have CDs, but we still call them cut. Hey, you got a cut today.
We got a stream.
We got a stream.
Oh, God.
Or when we say work tape, we're making a work tape.
Those words will never come out of my mouth, ever.
Yeah.
You got a stream.
Hey, we got a stream today. I had a publisher one time tell me, "Hey, man, you had 100,000 streams this week." And I'm like, they were celebrating. I'm going, let me see. I made $23 this week. Thanks.
That's a lot of
Thanks for
streams.
letting me know.
If you made $23, that's a lot of streams.
Somebody knows
about
that
$1 million.
math, and I forget what it is. However many streams equal $1, but I try not to remember it.
I know.
We don't need to think about that.
I try not to.
But Kurt, you were going to say something.
Yeah, it's a scary time to be a songwriter. It really is.
It really is.
I mean, we came up in a golden era. The last of the physical sales and ownership. I mean, now you're just going to get subscriptions and you're not going to own anything. And if you don't pay your monthly subscription, you don't get your music anymore.
No.
So you don't get to own it. You don't get to hold it. And I think, and I know I'm nostalgic to that because I'm older, but
We were very
I
fortunate.
missed that. Yeah, we were at a good spot it was a tail end of all of it, really.
Yeah, and when you explain it to the new writers in town, the new young guys that come to town, and you explain to them the mechanicals that we made back in the early 2000s, the first decade and a half of the 2000s, you tell them about the money we made on mechanicals, they're blown away.
They're blown away.
They're like, what?
You didn't need to have
And
a single.
They had that look in their eye
You really
like,
didn't.
Yeah, you didn't. And they had that look in their eye like, I got to go back home. This isn't going to work out. I mean, really, when they start doing the math on today's streaming numbers, it scares them to death. And I'm with you. I'm like, why would you move to town to want to write songs for a living today? I mean, you would have to be the luckiest. It's like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
If you're on,
Yeah.
That's what we equate it to a lot is a lottery. It's because like every song you write, you're buying a lottery ticket. And like to your point, if you don't have a single, you're not making money.
No.
And it's it's a tough business.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Do you guys think it dilutes the overall music and the genre?
100%.
Right? Like,
Absolutely.
because you have to fit it into that smaller box now to get the single. And
We talked about it before. We have you have songs that were huge hits back in the day. We have songs that were huge hits back in the day that wouldn't get cut today. They just wouldn't.
Yeah.
There Goes My Life, for instance. We talked about that. It would not get cut. I couldn't get that song. Couldn't get arrested with that song.
you think so?
I don't know. I know you always say that.
It would not get cut.
I'd hate to believe
I would
that.
still love to write one of those.
I'd
like
you
to test
could.
the theory.
Neil,
I'd
I
like to
agree with
test the
you.
theory.
I think the listener, and this is going to sound negative, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Social media and TikTok and all. It's there's so many new artists and so many songs. I think the listener is diluted a little bit to listening to the actuals.
Yeah,
it's sad, but I do think that's a thing that to get through a song. And
You're right. People want to hear jingles.
I feel
You're
like
right. I guarantee you, everybody at this table has been a part of a song that has been one of the best songs that we've ever been a part of in the last, 20 years. And they're still sitting there. We've pitched them to everybody. They're still sitting there.
Yeah.
Without a
and
doubt.
I think a lot of it too, like nowadays, it's because there's so much media and stuff thrown at you, and you've got kids in the back seat, and you're trying to reach back and get them to hey, we're gonna have a wreck, be quiet, and you don't have time or the mental awareness or the time to really think about a 3.5 minute song that unfolds at the last 30 seconds of the song to get the whole thing, so you almost need to get the whole thing in that first verse or chorus, or you just miss it.
It's weird. So we've had these conversations in a write. It's like, you can't save that. You better do it in the first chorus because you can't save it for the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's true. It's
That's
so
a
true.
sad-
No, it's true.
But it's right.
That's so true.
another thing that is interesting about all of us sitting here, we all came up the same way, like playing clubs.
Yeah.
How many club shows have we played? You can't count them. when you're growing up, you're playing bars, you're playing clubs. The new artists today aren't coming up that way. They're going viral for something on TikTok or a song or so, and they're going from there to a label to tour.
Yeah.
And they're missing 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
15, 20 years of smoky bars, 5 sets a night.
And meeting people.
Meeting people.
That's right.
Honing your
learning
craft.
how to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a huge disconnect with the way that it used to be becoming an artist and like Kurt said, honing your craft. That part of it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to see it happen in real time.
Mm-hmm. You know, I was playing in bars where you were at that time you were playing Skinnerd and the Stones, and you were playing Haggard and Hank Jr. And it was also becoming my music because I was seeing the crowd and how they were reacting to what I was singing. You know, you're like okay, they really seem to, you know, like you're doing research without really knowing you're doing research.
Right,
so you're
exactly.
out there looking every night, playing 5 hours a night,
And
you know, 9 to 2.
And how to perform and how to make that work. There's a definite decline that which I think there's a reason why we're still relevant and why, you know, Urban's still out there kicking ass and Blake and Tim
Church
Church because
They're seasoned.
there's years of work that went into it.
Yeah.
And
Are we sounding like bitter?
Well,
old men
I was about
right
to-
here. I mean, I know we're not, but it's like
definitely
it's
not.
just
I was
a
gonna
new
ask.
way.
I would say lucky, not bitter. I'm glad I'm not moving here now.
Yeah, I just
Absolutely.
think
We were
would
talking
be
about that.
much harder
Absolutely.
time to
Would
navigate.
never go down the songwriting.
And I would never
path
trade
today.
a bar gig in, you know, from 14 to 20, 21. I would never trade one of those 5-setters in full of smoke.
Hey, thank everybody for listening, and we're so thankful for our sponsor. Original Brands is starting a new era in American domestic premium beer.
Amen.
American made, American owned, Original Glory.
Original Glory not only tastes great, but it's under 90 calories and only 2 carbs. Easy drinker and perfect for the active lifestyle.
Bring it.
Original Glory. It's a veteran-founded company with a deep love of country. Original Glory.
Freedom is worth drinking too.
You guys know
You know?
that story I tell about spoke at Belmont one time for all the songwriting class.
I'm an alumni.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, but that was a weird thing to me.
You went to
Like,
college? What a loser.
but like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
wait,
right.
you can get a degree. Like it's what?
I know. I
wait,
had no
what?
idea.
It was really freaky to me. But they asked me to come and speak, and I was sitting there, and I was just being honest. And some young kid said, "You know, what kind of advice? What's the best advice you can give a young songwriter?" And I said, "Man, I would drop out and get a bottle of alcohol and go get a club gig and get a band and
Oh my God, that's
go
so
spend
awesome.
about." And I never went back to speak again. I don't know why. They never asked me back.
But you spoke the truth.
You did say that? That's fantastic.
On the other side of that, 30 years, maybe 25 years, whatever before, in LA, I was in the house band. You know, I
know.
I was
I
playing the
know.
Palomino. I've told this story I know a bunch, but I was playing the Palomino in the house band, and Kristofferson came in,
Oh my God.
and you know, my dad and my dad was like, "That's the guy." You know, as I was, you know, now as a country guy, you know, I was early 20s, and I was just rocking it out in all the country bars. And anyway, there was Kris, and so I gotta ask him something. I gotta ask him something.
Well, yeah.
Followed him out to the alley behind the bars. In North Hollywood was like the seediest part of town. It's like the worst part of town. And he's literally in the alley getting into a limo with 2 hookers, and he's holding a bottle of big giant bottle of Jack Daniels, and he's got 2 girls kind of propping him up. And I'm like, Kris, you know,
Back it in, Kris.
I'm like, Kris, and his driver's kind of waiting, got the hat on and everything, and it's like a seedy back alley, trash cans, and the cats running around, you know. I'm like, Kris, I'm Jeff Steele, I'm a songwriter, and I need to hear you. What can you tell me? What do I need to do? What do I need to do, sir? And he's literally doing this. He's just doing the rock back and forth, you know, like the girls are holding him up, you know, and he's looking at me. His eyes are just crossing back and forth. He goes, kid, never do it for the money. And then he gets into a limo with two girls.
It's an amazing story.
So, and then years later, 20-some years later, I get the Songwriter of the Year thing. And who are they honoring as the icon? Kris Kristofferson.
Oh, did he remember?
Well, I went right up to him and said, Kris, it's Jeff Steele. It's me. Palomino, the bar. Remember the bar?
He did remember.
He's like, buddy, I have no clue who you are
I love that.
or why you're
He
here.
didn't remember last night, much less.
But at the heart of it, it's great advice. Even though the irony was dripping,
It was great.
It is great advice.
And I told him, I said, you gave me some advice. And he said, what did I tell you? I said, you told me to never do it for the money. And he looks at me. And then he got real serious and he goes, did you do it for the money? I said, no, sir. And he goes,
That's
sir.
amazing.
No, that's awesome.
But that's kind of our gig. And what a cool thing to look back on, right? But I just feel like the kids, like they're going straight to GarageBand or they're, creatively, like it's all out there. It's all out there for them. But it is a different world now that they're coming up in. And I'm sure they're going to figure it out and it's going to be great somehow.
Yeah, and it may be all relative, like you were talking about, like, where the Dwight Yoakams and things like that. It's just a time period of where we grew up and where we were and our memories attached. It'll be the same, 20 years from now, people might say, hey, where's, wish we had another, Aldine or,
Absolutely.
all the current people that are rocking like right now will be the same thing. And kind of the point of the people coming up through social media, and we're saying, man, I wouldn't want to be a songwriter. I wouldn't want to be breaking in right now. And my first thought is to agree with that and how hard it is. But I feel like God wired everybody in such a way to go after something. He gives you some sort of gift. And I bet if we were just coming up, we too would find a way to get here and try it in whatever capacity.
It's a great point.
And there's
great
there's
point.
almost more opportunity now with the social media also that we don't have to go knock on a publisher's door, and get kicked out. There's other ways in. So I don't know. Maybe.
And like I said,
relative.
too, it's generational. It's generational, and each generation has their own thing and the music they grew up on. But great point. I mean, it's.
Well, so Jeffrey, sorry, Tolly. I was going to ask, you're talking about the California days and the Boy Howdy days. So what was the transition from you being the artist to moving to Nashville to be a writer? Or did you not knowingly, conscientiously think that?
No, it's
Don't leave anything out.
I only know it's a crazy story. It's always a crazy story to me. But I was in 94-5. Band broke up. And it was an inevitable thing that was going to happen.
It was,
and we all knew it was going to happen. I won't get into that story, but that's a pretty funny story too. A rainy night in Alabama, Birmingham,
my hometown.
the fair. We were playing the fair. Anyway, the band broke up, and so I had gotten a solo deal on Curb Records, and I'd come off the road. The deal you're doing 200.
Oh yeah.
Shows a year. You're at the radio station every morning. You're out every night, just being crazy and getting up at 6 a.m. to go get the ad and eat the pizza.
God, I'm getting anxieties.
Yeah.
Right.
Inside me, yeah.
I'm feeling it.
And I was really starting to have some really bad voice problems. I was having really serious, I couldn't hit an F sharp, which is pretty low for me in the range, and so I went to get my voice checked. They said, it's not looking good. And that era was when everybody was doing everybody was getting the surgery. It was the new hot thing to do, I get the vocal surgery and blah, blah, blah.
Wait a minute. I didn't do that.
What
are you talking about? Is it too late?
But I remember everybody was talking about, I'm going to get it. I think somebody had gotten it. Was it Patty Loveless or Faith Hill or somebody got it? And it started to be a trend in Nashville. Oh yeah, you just have to be quiet for 6 weeks. And I was like, man, if something's not wrong with me, I don't want to go in there, and I don't want you guys going in there. And I said, is there some other thing I can do? And luckily this gal that was the head of the department, at what do they call it? The otolaryngology, whatever that was.
Yeah. Dr. Ossoff.
Ossoff. So Kim Kasheri, she was working under him. And so she recommended this guy, Tom McDonald, Dr. Tom McDonald. And he was a musician, but he was one of the surgeons. And so she recommended me go see him. And so I went to see him, and he goes, I went to see him at like 7 a.m. He goes, all right, sing your hit.
Sing your hit.
Which at the time, was she'd give anything. She didn't get,
Yeah.
And I could not hit that note. I couldn't hit the high note at the end of the thing, the bridge, and let alone get through the song that early in the morning. I said, man, I can't sing it. So he goes, you should be able to sing anytime. Right when you get out of bed, you should be able to sing. Well, I can't do that. I said, there's no way. It's going to crack all over the place. Well, he goes, just do it and let me hear what you do. And so I did it. My voice started cracking, and he immediately said, matter of factly, like, you're singing from your throat. Air out of your throat. Fine. Huh? I never took a lesson, and so he made me this deal. He goes, I can help you, but you're going to have to get off the road for a while. And, as our money makers, right? Yeah. John Rich had just quit Lone Star and offered me the gig as the bass player.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, he goes, yeah, Lone Star needs a bass player. And I'm like, I have 4 kids, and I'm like, and I'm hanging by a thread on a record deal and hanging by a thread on a publishing deal. And what am I going to do? I'm like, wow, it's $5,000 a week. $5,000 a week, man. And I was thinking about it. And then when he told me, he goes, I'm going to need you to take like 18 months to 2 years off and not sing. And I'm going to help you retrain. Oh, wow. And get the air out of we're going to get the air from here to here. And you're not going to believe what's going to happen. And no surgery. So I just prayed about it and talk about a blessing. Talk about,
oh yeah.
So I had to make money and I had to get good at songwriting. Oh my God. I had to really jump in the box and figure out what I was doing.
Because I know the time that y'all quit, that Boy Howdy came off the road, y'all were done. That was 96. And then you started having hits, and that was the same time I started.
That was right when I met you, I think.
Yes, because I came off the road. Yeah. We did a record. Yeah. And did another record. Yeah. And I remember. I was like, and we were writing songs, and our songs were getting cut by other artists at the time. And we're like, and then like 99 came around and made the decision to come off the road and start writing songs. And then you and I wrote a little bit, and then we didn't. And then you and I both started getting Rascal Flatts cuts.
Yep.
And I used to call you Jeffrey Steele. I was like,
tell me what did I do?
I was like, yeah. It was like,
Jeffrey stole my idea.
That son of a bitch. Jeffrey stole another single from me. I thought I was going to get the next Rascal Flatts single, and he gets My Wish, and then you get
a fluke.
No, it was great. It was It was a great time. It was a great time. Amazing time. It was like, what's the next single? Hey Gary, what's the next single? It was like, what hurts the most? I'm like, damn it.
Did you know the deal?
Wow.
You guys know the deal?
And it was like flip-flop. We started flip-flop.
Where Steve Robson, my co-writer, was from London.
Okay, so this is what hurts the most, right? So
and My Wish, and These Days.
Okay, tell this
These
story.
Days was our first number one.
And These Days was a song. It's crazy stories that like the stuff we got to go through, right? It's like crazy. But I get a call from my publisher one day that he's got this guy in town from London. He's a track guy. If it's 1998, 99, what is a track guy, right? Like, what? Yep. He's a what? He composes these
And
tracks.
he wants part of the song? What?
Yeah.
We used to say that.
And he's from London. He's a producer. He's got all these people he's working with. And he's over here working with some writers. He had started this song with Danny Wells. And they didn't finish it. And so he said, would you take a crack at finishing the song? And I said, man, I don't know if I don't want to get on the back end of somebody's song and you want to go somewhere else and it's over here and you're going over here and it's not good, right? It's going to be a turd. And so I called. It was Markland was my publisher. You remember? Yeah. And I said, Steve, I said, just send me the music. I don't want to hear the melody or the whatever they wrote. Just send me Steve's music. So I'd never met Steve, ever met him, ever. And they sent me the music. I had my little studio in my house at the time, little room in my house. And I sat there and listened to his track, which was really well done, done. And just started writing about growing up in Southern California and playing in bands and meeting my wife, the whole journey. And didn't have a title. I tell these stories all the time, but I didn't have a title for it, but I made it up at the very end. I sang. That's what I'm doing these days. I did, go to bed. That's what I'm doing. Oh yeah, that'll be the title. I sang in it. I said, this song sucks. And honest to God, Neil. And then Steve calls me back and says, they cut it. I said, who cut it? This group called Rascal Flatts cut your song. And that started my journey. I would go to London and write with Steve for stuff that he was producing. And it was never intended to be pitched to Flats. It was for stuff that he was doing over there. And then we brought a couple back. Dan Huff heard him and he's like, oh my God, I can put this on. Gary would sing the crap out of this.
So wasn't What Hurts the Most, didn't that go to some other people first though?
Oh yeah, Faith Hill got it and Mark Wills actually cut it.
Oh, is that
and
right?
Put it out. Steven Tyler got it and said it was the most depressing song he ever heard in his life. By the way, he came to write with me one day. You've been to my studio. It's just a house, old house in Nashville. And I was with James Slater and Marty Fredrickson. And we're waiting, and we get, and there's a doorbell ring, and we look in the camera, the security camera. There's like this little old lady with this big floppy hat, and black pointy fingernails. That's funny. That's awesome. And Slater goes, "There's some old lady here."
He did not.
And it was Tyler. It was Steven Tyler.
Slater.
That's amazing.
It was Steven Tyler.
Oh, James, we love you, buddy.
Some old lady here.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, but
James does listen to this
That's how
podcast.
the relationship with Flats started for me, man. It was just crazy. It was not intended, and they somehow ended up cutting those songs, and it's the craziest thing ever. So, but what a great time that was.
So
I wasn't really pissed.
You wrote one of my favorite songs, Cowboy and Me.
No, thanks.
Oh, this is so
McGraw.
good.
100%.
When that came out, talk about the right song with the right artist.
Yeah,
I mean, even the video to that thing.
I loved it. They did a great job.
What a great song.
So was it written
Thank you.
for Tim, or was that another song that you guys just wrote?
That was a thing I had written. I remember I had "Don't Know Why I Act the Way I Do," first verse basically, and it was a day. I had a day with Craig. It was me and Craig and Craig Wiseman for the audience out there, who's just one of the most amazing writers. And just great. But he just said, "Oh shit." He just walked out of the room. He would always walk out of the room when I played.
Oh, he was never in the room.
But then he'd come back and he'd have the next verse. And it was one of these things, and it was early on when I first knew Craig, and it was the coolest thing, like when writers start, like you can tell you're getting something going, and then you just start trying to outdo each other, and you're throwing darts at each other, and you know what I mean? Like it's kind of a little bit of a boxing match, but it's the coolest thing ever, right? And that's what that day was, and we fought over the arrangement of that song, whether it should go to a proper chorus or do the solo bridge thing. And it was just...
If we had more time, I would do my imitation of Craig Wiseman.
Come on, do it now.
No,
come on.
I don't have a
You
guitar
brought it
handy,
up.
but it's like, it's amazing.
That's a great.
He's amazing.
That's a great song. That's
It's a great day. It was Big Al Anderson too, and we wrote it at Big Al's house that day. I remember, and it was just an amazing day. And I was just really starting to get to know Craig, and had just met Big Al, and that's another guy. Just talking about songwriting, that just for me was a game changer. That just influenced, changed everything about what I did.
And that going to McGraw, he just sold that thing.
Yeah, it was perfect.
I thought that was
It was a
about
perfect.
as good as you get as far as
No, it's as good as it
pitch,
gets. You're right. It is.
Yeah, it really was, and it's crazy to it's just blessed, man. You're playing that song 20 years later, and people still singing
right.
it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Craig
like,
was the only other. He was like one of 5 writers. He was like second after Jeffrey to text me after Try That in a Small Town. And Craig, he texted me and he goes, I cannot believe you guys wrote the most bigoted, racist, divisive song in the history of country music, and that was it. And he left it for me. He left me hanging for like 5 minutes, and then he left me hanging for like 5 minutes, and then he goes, without me.
That's awesome.
like the bubbles were going on the screen.
Man.
It was so Craig Wiseman. It wasn't even funny.
Well, we've talked about this before, and Jeffrey being an artist yourself, and Neil being an artist. you guys are overqualified to be songwriters, right? And we've talked about it, like me and Kurt and Tully, we're not overqualified to be songwriters. We're
failed artists. We're failed artists.
We are failed artists.
You're the only one who hasn't been an artist at the table.
The only one that hasn't failed is
okay.
That's a good strategy because that's when we first met.
I need to do it. I need to fail as an artist.
Yes, we need to do that.
You're the only one who hasn't failed as an artist at this table.
Okay, so
hit the
so
table
I
today.
need to cut a little
That's
EP.
probably the most awards I have, actually, for
finished
failure as an
Belmont.
artist.
No,
I'm
actually,
going to cut an EP
was telling
and let it fail.
Jeffrey, it's been 20 years since we actually went in the same room together. We were in a band called Rushlow, and you knew Tim Rushlow.
Oh, that's right.
Right. So
How did I forget?
toured a lot.
How did I forget that?
yeah, I don't know how you can fit
How in the
those.
world
So
did
good.
I mean, I forget. I'm sorry.
We'll bring the
Please go on.
pictures and
I'll
the
finish
photo
my
shoot
story
out.
in a minute.
But yeah, you came out to a show in Clarksville, somewhere like that. I think it was close. And that's when we first met. I remember very vividly, Tim had said you were coming, and we were like, oh, damn. Because you're also a great bass player, and so that was cool for me. Because I remember, listening to Boy Howdy and everything. And anyway, that's when we first met. It was great having you there. It was like, wow, this is, maybe we got a shot. We did. We had one single. I don't know.
Hey, that's good though.
More than you had,
It's
Caleb.
more than I had.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say to that is the fact that it gives you guys one, you have a few advantages. One is the fact that as an artist, you know what you wouldn't say. You also get to know other artists really quick and what they wouldn't say, and the fact that they're fans of your voice. So when they hear Jeffrey Steele, vocal on a song, they hear the first line, or they hear Neil Thrasher, or Brett James, Hillary Lindsay. So many in town that are artists that are having huge success as songwriters. It just gives a huge benefit. And some of the artists, I think, they love the writing, but they also just, oh man, I love that vocal. And sometimes
the delivery
in the reverse, you could have a great song and the wrong person sing it. And they can be a good singer, but for whatever reason, the artist, it could be line 2, and they say, "Who is that? Is that so and so?" I hate his voice. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, but just listen. Just listen. No, it's a hit. It's a hit. I promise." And they stop. They stop listening. Yeah.
It is true, but like with Neil and Jeffrey in particular, they both know somehow they put themselves in this moment in time in that song. And I think when a Jason or Rascal Flatts or anybody Tim McGraw hears that, they're like, dang, I want to give that emotion off. That speaks to me. And the way you deliver that song through the vocal and through the message, it's priceless.
Yeah, there's no price. I mean, we talk about this all the time, like two guys like yourself. And when you can sell a song like that, like it's I don't even know if you guys realize how valuable it is.
Yeah, because the words are one
because
thing.
you can write. We've had this. We've written songs, and like until that vocal gets there, or everything is there, and it's sold to an artist like an Aldine or Tim or anybody, it doesn't have a life. And it might be an inflection in a word, it might be the smallest melody tweak. That hooks them.
Yeah, and it's the feeling, it's the emotion you put behind it.
And writing songs, you tend to forget that a lot of times too. Like you forget those little things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another sidebar to a sidebar. One story that people don't know, like about what hurts the most, is that I was a song I wrote about my dad after he passed away. It was in his honor, and the title that I had that day I was working on was "What Meant the Most." Did I ever tell you?
No.
It was "What Meant the Most," and Steve had this the track was amazing. Track was pretty much the record, and it was just amazing. And I just started jumping into writing it and getting the lyric going, the melody going, and every time I sang it, it just didn't seem like the chorus was adding up. And then when we actually got it finished, and I went in to cut the vocal at the studio at his place, I messed up and I sang "What Hurts the Most."
Are you serious?
He stopped the tape.
Are you serious?
I swear to God, he stopped the tape and he's like, "Bloke, you got to get in here. You got to get in here. You got to listen to this." And I said, "Nah, just let me give it to me again. I'll get it. I know." He goes, "No. Get in here." Like I just wanted to fix it because I wanted to get the part right. So I reluctantly took the headphones off and walked in to the control room, and he played it, and I was like,
What made you say what hurts the most?
I don't know.
It's a God
It
thing.
just came out.
God, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's a God thing. He made you say it, and
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Other than,
No, I totally
That's
agree.
amazing.
Yeah.
Other than it was
No, I
from
totally
God, because that was really what it was. It wasn't what meant the most. It was what hurt the most. Was, you know, I was telling you earlier, he had fired me because he didn't want me to cut my fingers off in a machine shop, and he'd fired me, and I was like, I'll show you. I'm going to join a band, and which is what he wanted me to do. He knew I wanted to play guitar.
Show you.
No,
Man, that is
Wow.
That's
I'm
unbelievable.
going to join a band and travel the country. Go.
Please.
He's like kicking me in the ass all the way out the door. But,
I love that story.
but when that fell out, my jaw dropped, and I was like, because the chord, you know, it's over the minor chord, the minor, the 6 minor. And I was like, wow. And then that was a songwriting moment where I went, wow, the power of a one word over a chord change.
Yes.
You know, that's what Big Al told me years ago. He'd always say, it's not what you write, it's what you don't write.
Hey,
You know what I mean? Like what you leave out and what you don't play and what.
I've always said that.
Yeah.
amazing.
You're right, though, the power, that's a great way to put it, the power of a word over
Just falling over the chord.
Like the way the melody is, like it means so much.
And hearing it in the room at that moment, and just hearing how it was not only that's way better, but it was an eye-opening thing. It was a songwriting thing too, where I was like, wow, I see how that works. I didn't. I just lucked into that one.
That's right.
That's amazing.
I used to try to write songs like McDill used to write. A little gut string, you know, just with a mic and a gut string, and I'm like, and then the industry started changing, and it's like, they're not going to hear that. We got to do a full demo, and I'm like, they're not hearing it like he used to do it.
Yeah.
When Don Williams and all these, you know, all these artists, these 30 number ones that McDill had, because he did them all with a gut string guitar and one microphone, reel to reel. Every demo he did. He never did a demo session. McDill never did that, and I would try to do that, and it was like
whole family singing too. Your whole family was singing, right?
No, it goes way back. My dad sang professionally since he was 4 years old, and
I love that.
that's how you learn to sing harmony when you grow up in a Southern gospel family. That's how you learn to sing harmony.
You learned well, sir.
Well, we had, and talking about the early days, I came across something just reading, because I know the Jeffrey Steele, who is Jeffrey Steele, but just kind of going back and learning a little bit about your story, because it's always interesting, and sometimes for listeners, like, all right, where'd you start? Where was the first interest in music? And for you, it was in the church, because you come from a musical family, right? Your mom sang, and your dad did as well. Mm-hmm. And you sang in your church, Three Dog Night, like Joy to the World, right?
Joy to the World, Hoyt Axton.
Yeah, and so what was so cool? I know, right?
My show.
Jeremiah was a
did that in
bullfrog.
church?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a church dance, and my brother's band was playing. It was
And
the only song I knew that I knew all the way through.
And then it said it went over so well, because he got a standing O, that he played it 7 more times. It
Played it
reminded me of you
7
guys,
times, 8 times
because
in the night.
in the early days, the Aldine, you said, "Oh yeah, we'd play Hicktown over and over again." When you're just
Hold on, you played it 7 more times at that day?
No, that night.
And I was a little 9-year-old kid, and I'm holding the mic, and I was like, I don't know any more songs, and my brother goes, sing it again.
They loved it. You're killing them.
See, that's what I'm talking about, learning how to get through it, though. I mean, you're laughing about it, but the early at Valdine's, we did Hicktown twice, and the second one was 18 minutes.
I get it.
Well, in any cover band, you did that. Hey, we got a special request. Let's play Sweet Home Alabama.
Exactly.
The second one, we
request.
did all band introduction. We needed time.
Yeah.
We had one song in 90 minutes.
I know. That's right.
Oh my God.
But that's the deal, right?
You pull from what you did when you were a kid, and how to get through it, and you circle right back around to what young artists don't have any idea how to.
Yeah, they don't that stage presence of just knowing.
They can't even play if the track rig goes down.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
That's just the truth. Like that's.
Oh boy.
I know it might be uncovering a little bit too much underneath the hood. Maybe I don't know. Well, I mean, it's true though.
It's true.
If the artist gets lost in a song today,
oh boy.
oh boy,
Oh boy.
oh boy.
I had a gig the other night where it was one of those moments where the mic stand dropped. You know, it was a loose.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of, you leaned in and got my elbow on
Yeah.
it, caught it, strummed the E chord and did that and got it back. And
See?
I'm more proud of that than the disc.
Well, heck yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't do that today. They just
Yeah.
be standing
You see
there.
what I just
They would
did?
be lost.
What a save.
They wouldn't have that.
Now the vocal
That was a predator save right there.
Do y'all think it'll? Do you guys think that it'll ever get back or start trending back to where artists will start looking for songs again instead of trying to write everything that they do?
I'd like to think yes, but
I don't know.
I think so.
I don't either.
I mean, I think that was part of the charm too, like you were speaking to earlier.
An artist would hear a certain thing that the writer did vocally or lyrically or melodically, and they'd want to try to capture, or they wanted to get a piece of that vibe because they didn't have it themselves or whatever. I think that was a huge part of a few years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Where it's not as much.
they're not letting artists have time to develop anymore.
Yeah.
So something's going viral. They're taking them. They see, okay, streams here. They can get streams. They can, do that. And so there's no development. They're just thrown out there. So, when you're an artist and you like an Aldine, and we cut the first record 20-some years ago.
So crazy.
I know.
You
So crazy.
yeah,
I think that's been
it's over 20 years. So
it's amazing.
you change so much from the first record and second record and third. You're developing as you go, but these guys today, they're just thrown out there. So that whole process is, I don't know if they're even feeling it the way we feel it. The process itself.
I don't know. And it's interesting because still the biggest artists in the genre are the ones that have taken outside songs. If you still look
The
at
biggest, all of
Kenny, the Jasons, the Tims, even
true.
Church, even though they might be
Yep.
involved in the writing process, they still want it from
Blake.
Yeah.
One of them
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and you have, and this used to, singles took a lot longer, on the radio. Now they're going, and it goes back and forth, but everything's going so fast now, and you have these artists that they've spent years writing that first record, right? And then you get, it's really an amazing record. Then they say, okay, you got about a year to come up with, something even
Something
better.
better
It's
than
like
that in a year's time.
Man, now what am I going to do? And some of them are doing it. They're working like crazy. I mean, you have, and there are artists I think that are still doing, outside song, obviously Aldine, but even Morgan Wallen is a very gifted writer.
Absolutely.
Every now and then
There's a
people
lot
are
of
getting
outside
calls
stuff.
and like, hey, he's going to cut this song, and you're like, oh my God, are you kidding? No, I haven't had that, blessing yet, dear Lord. Please.
But Morgan has learned, because Morgan was when he was out with us, when he came out and opened for us before he exploded. And I remember him talking to us about that though, like saying, I'll cut any Gray song.
Right.
Because he was learning. Morgan really soaked in a lot from Aldine.
Yeah, just observed
right.
what was going on.
He did the same way that we did when we were out there with Toby and Kenny and some of these other guys like McGraw and those guys. I could see Morgan learning and what to do or how to do it, like, yeah, hey, if a great song gets me here, send it. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
For the greater good.
It
Right.
is. Yeah. And that's,
He leaves it open.
Yeah.
There's a lot of artists that don't leave it open. They want to write everything. They want their name on everything. And I guess that's okay, but time will tell.
Yeah. But you look at even through the years, like a lot of the rock and roll artists, I'm not, not Eagles obviously, but if you look like Eric Clapton, he cut a lot of great outside songs.
Yeah.
Like Wonderful
Change the
Tonight,
World.
Lay Down Sally, Change the World.
Even
Some of his
Aerosmith.
great songs.
Aerosmith, when they hit their
Aerosmith,
biggest
yeah.
comeback, Diane Warren was
Warren.
writing a lot of that stuff.
Yep.
So, hopefully that's the way it goes. Are you still doing the Songwriting Academy?
Yeah, I still do it, still teach it, and still got a publisher hat on too, and waving all the flags. And now my daughter's writing too, so I'm kind of navigating that with her, and she's doing really great. But the Academy's great. I've been doing that for, that's going on 20 years for me doing that, and have a lot of fun. I love, you guys might be the same, but I love when you see in a kid, like when they get what they're about musically. You know what I mean? When you see that happen, I get a kick out of that. And like you see somebody that, because everybody's trying to chase the carrot, and They got the train up on their butt behind them and they're chasing the carrot, but trying to do what everybody else is doing. And so my thing has always been to tell everybody, like, my mom and dad used to two-step to me when I would play the bars, around a circle. They'd two-step around the stage. And I was really good at doing Merle Haggard covers at that point. And my dad would two-step by and he'd be like, Mom, he'd be like, sounds good, son. Like, thanks, Dad. And he'd come by the second time, he goes, you're only ever going to be the second best Merle Haggard, though. But you know what I mean? You got to be you. You got to, and I took that to heart. Like, I was pissed at him too. I was like, screw you, Dad. But I try to tell him, like, you can chase everybody, what everybody's doing, but you got to remember that it's probably going to be 5 years away, to 10 years away. Go down to Broadway and there's the next Aldine. There's the next Morgan Wallen down there. Go, like, when I came to town, Craig Wiseman was playing drums with Tim McGraw at the, what's that hotel over there by BMI?
Oh my God.
The little,
they
got the club over there.
I forget what it's called. That's where I ran into Toby.
It's like the
Toby
famous,
Keith that night.
gosh.
The Hall of Fame type.
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame.
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Craig was playing drums.
I saw many fights in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. But we all did those gigs, right? And we met, guys that went on to be, and I was on the same label with Tim, and we knew each other. But so you're hanging out with, like back in the day, I would get people. They still do it now, but like especially back in the day, like, can you get my song to Rascal Flatts? I'm like, no.
There's that.
You gotta, right? But I really can't. I really, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, just go. Find your guys. Trust me, it's a better road. You find the next guys and be with them and be their guy.
That's great advice.
Because you know what I mean. And sure enough, that works. It never doesn't work. If you're coming up, you should be with the players that are coming up and the singers that are coming up.
Does that still happen? So when I moved here, at 96 or whatever, first thing I did, went down to Barbara's in the alley. Went down to 16th Avenue Cafe.
That's a nice place to go now.
Yeah, I know.
I know. So
You haven't changed, by the way. You still look the same.
I went down and wanted to sit in. Wanted to play some Keith Whitley. Wanted to sit. Is that happening?
I don't know.
No.
It's not?
Do you know? I don't know.
Hell no.
Oh.
I couldn't.
No.
I'm getting,
They're tearing all those buildings down.
When you said Barbara's, I thought Barbara's Home Cooking out here in Franklin. They got amazing fried chicken.
Well, here's another thing to throw out. Music Row. I mean, now my studio's not on Music Row proper, but it was for a long time. I drove by the other day. I was with one of my kids, and we drove by 19th. Is it Grand over there? Remember where South Street used to be?
Oh, yeah.
So whatever that Grand
Division.
Oh, you can't get through there.
not Division, but like one of those side streets.
Got it.
But Almo Irving used to be there, and
yeah.
I drove by. I was like, Almo Irving. I wrote Chrome there. I wrote I Wish there. I wrote thinking because that's where Craig was. Tony Mullins was there. Chris Wallen was there. Anthony Smith, Annie Roboff, Kent Robbins was there.
Yep.
And I'm driving by, and I'm like, I was telling my kid, I was like, I wrote such and such. And I'm looking at the first floor, and it's all ellipticals.
Oh my gosh.
No. Short carpet and ellipticals. And mirrors. And I'm like, what the
And this is
what the hell's going on?
This is a transition to a song called
so
Speed.
Sad, man.
Yeah, right.
And then, of course, the UA tower had to come down. It had to come down.
It's going to come down eventually.
But it was, to see a lot of that history not there anymore. In a lot of the studios. Yeah. I did a session with Dwight Yoakam about a year ago at Omni Sound.
Oh, Omni. Yeah.
And it's gone. They tore it down.
Still probably my favorite.
so sad.
That's where you two played on.
That was the best
first
room.
demo y'all played on for me
So much
was
stuff in
at
that
Omni.
room. So much stuff in that room.
When that went down, and it's been. I tell everybody, like, man, back in the day, there was so much excitement. Music Row, there's studios, there was songs being slung, there was all this excitement. You couldn't not play a session as players. Like back in the day, it was like, dude, as many sessions as you wanted to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Studios are gone now. High rises, hotels. Like, man, this is sad.
And like you see, like a new
Maybe we
apartment-
sound old now.
A
but
new
I sound
apartment goes up and it says like it's called Melody on the Row. Like,
Oh my gosh.
Melody on what? There's no melody. That's just a bunch of ellipticals.
Melody on.
Oh man, I don't know.
Jeffrey,
tough
this is
getting
probably
old.
a conversation that could last
Oh my
forever,
God.
right?
Hey.
But listen,
It's
we are
fun,
so
though.
thankful.
Oh, my honor.
I mean, we
Yeah.
are so thankful that you're here. You're an icon. You really are.
And
Thanks.
still doing it.
Thank you.
It's
Still
amazing.
doing it.
And more importantly, a bass player.
And
Finally,
a bass player. Finally.
a little
notoriety
Who's,
for a
who's
bass
tatted up more though?
Well,
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard
I
to
don't
say.
know.
Shirts off.
Not a contest.
Shirts
off.
Shirt and skins.
Thanks for coming in.
Hey,
We're
bro.
very appreciative.
Thank you
of
guys for having
And
me.
thanks for doing
Here's
it the
to you.
right way.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Yep.
Right back at
Hopefully
you.
you do it again.
And
Cheers.
cheers to your
Cheers to
success.
getting it.
Continue.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow us on all the social platforms at Try That Podcast. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment. We love interacting with you. Thanks.